Hello, welcome back to Firesense Gaming. My name is Ben, and today we're going to continue on Suzerain. The last time we left off, we had a very action-packed episode. We looked at a few bills, we got a pandemic under control, we looked at our possible re-election chances, and we also started trying to repair relations with the Blutish people. And it looks like that is also the end of the turn, so let's continue on and see what happens next. Finishing Chapter 3 and Chapter 4, Checkmate. Huh, alright. Well, given the name of that the name of the chapter, it sounds like we're definitely getting close to the end, and I don't know if that's always the name of this chapter, but it definitely doesn't seem promising. But that's right. We'll keep battling it out and do what we can to finish this term out strong. So let's go and start off with the newspaper here. One from Geopolitico. Hegel would take all the necessary steps. In a televised address, Chancellor Emmerich Hegel claimed intensive fighting was taking place between the Agnolian forces and the locals of Helluland, resulting in the massacres of ethnic Vogs living on the island. He portrayed the conflict as a national struggle and compared it to the independence wars of the former colonies in Riga. Hegel said, Vogsland is the guarantor of Helluland's security and would take all the necessary steps to prevent mass atrocities committed against the islanders. Van Horten said in a television interview that Vogslandians must withdraw their harassment squad from the Markian Sea before any diplomatic talks can happen. So that is just escalating like crazy over there. So that's not a good development. Alright. And in Whole Sword, I guess we're ending the day already. It was raining as Serge dropped me off at home after yet another grueling day of work. A guard held an umbrella over my head as I walked from the car to my front door. Inside, the house is completely dark. I flipped on the light in the kitchen to find a note from Monica. Ciara had called her in for a last-minute women's rights meeting. She dropped Jan off at a friend's and left me some food for reheating. I took the pot out of the fridge. It was filled with an unidentifiable grayish-looking stew. Evidently, Monica's excellent cooking had been the first casualty of her political career. Screw it. Just eat it. I sighed and put the pot on the stove. While it was heating up, I went to the living room to fix myself a drink. Suddenly the phone rang, and went back to the kitchen and answered it. Frank's voice was on the other end. Oh, I thought Mom would pick up. Oh, hello to you too, Frank. Sorry. Hi, Dad. Glad to get you out of the office. There's a long silence. I got that record you sent me. Not bad for old folks' music. Peter thought you might like it. How's Uncle Peter doing? Is he seeing a therapist? I don't remember ever hearing anything about that. But let's go with that. Why not? Surprisingly well, he's actually seeing a therapist. He may even quit alcohol. Wow, did I see a pig? Just see a pig fly? So, I've been seeing this new girl at school. Really? What's she like? She's amazing. Blutish, actually. Her parents are big supporters of yours. I like her already. Maybe I'll bring her for dinner next week. I suddenly became aware of a smoky smell coming from the kitchen. My dinner was burning. Good catching up with you, Frank. I gotta go. I just lit the kitchen on fire. Yeah, okay. Bye, Dad. We both hung up. I raced to the stove and turned off the burner. The bottom of the pot was charred, but part of the mystery stew was still salvageable. I ate alone by the flickering light of the television, wondering when Monica and Diana would get home. Oh, alright, that was brilliant. Oh, yay, I lost money again somehow. Fantastic. Alright, let's check country review. Maybe that'll tell me what happened. Alright, economy. Debt crisis. Perfect. Due to the government's reckless spending and widening budget deficit, Sordland has entered a debt crisis. The country won't be able to pay its government debt in the near term without the assistance of a third party. Whoopsie doodle. Alright, but on the plus side, we got anti-corruption raids. Anti-corruption police have been very efficient in busting the most powerful and corrupt, which deterred many other individuals. So that's a bonus. But that budget is, that's a problem. Well, like the newspapers here, we're probably going to get reamed. Alright, the whole sword post. Got 5 of them here, jeez. USP conservatives try to obstruct administration. Sources from within the Grand National Assembly have informed us that the conservative wing of the USP seem to be intentionally obstructing President Rain's agenda. From failing to attend committee meetings to delaying bills that the president has attempted to push through, Gloria Tory and her fellow conservatives have no apparent motive other than blocking Rain at every turn. Tory and the president are known to have clashed over the latter's constitutional reforms. Could that have prompted her vindictive attitude? That's not good. Alright, USP reformists try to obstruct administration. It's not just everybody's trying to screw us over. Sources from within the Grand National Assembly have informed us that the reformists in the USP seem to be intentionally obstructing President Rain's agenda. Failing to attend committee meetings, delaying bills that the president attempted to push through, Alban Klobb and his wing have no apparent motive other than blocking President Rain at every turn. The obstruction has a vindictive feel to it, but it is unknown what the president did to prompt this. Nice, okay. Election campaign ramps up across Swordland. The election campaigning efforts have started to pick up speed across Swordland. To become the 5th president of Swordland, the candidates began delivering their speeches at rallies and conventions while the party flags are flying in major cities. Campaign centers are busy with scheduling and organizing events. The exciting times of election are approaching. The majority of cities, USP appears to be the most prominent, whereas PFJP follows behind along with NFP. It will be thrilling to see the presidential race renew once again for the fast-approaching elections. Alright, ladies' bill struck down. Families in Swordland can breathe easier as the controversial Women's Liberation Act, proposed by Minister of Education Ciara Waldo with the blessing of First Lady Monica Rain, completely failed to pass. This bill, which would have upended Swordish's traditional values by forcing undue burdens on women in the name of equality, was supported by the President, but struck down in the Assembly, showing Anton Rain who wears the trousers in this government. Yeah, bunch of jackasses. Rain refuses Security Act law. The administration has decided to veto the Comprehensive Security Laws package, which was proposed by the Parliament. The package was seen as extreme by some, including the Marine Palace. I guess this is really weird, but obscene new powers given to the security forces, such as the use of force and suspicion-based arrests. The veto of Rain is an outright refusal of the intended measures of the Assembly. Alright, Lockhaven Times. Vice President recovering from alcoholism. Okay, good, so we totally didn't lie about that. Former Vice President Peter Vectrin is a troubled man who has had a long struggle with alcoholism. The scandal that came to head between himself and President Rain's secretary, Olivia Suna, was the final straw for Peter to realize that he needed help. The former VP stepped down from his position to focus on his health and is beginning his journey to recover from alcoholism. Peter Vectrin serves as a reminder that anyone, from any walk of life, can be faced with these challenges and should be helped back to their feet. If you or anyone you know is suffering from addiction, reach out to your local sober Swordland representative. That is a very good point. Alright, not even Volkslandian fire can stop us. The industrial city of Conriat is officially completed. This city is expected to soon rival Lockhaven due to the newly diversified and expanded manufacturing industry. The mayor of Conriat, Chris Shaw, expressed his utmost gratitude for the investment the president put into the city. In his statement, the president made an excellent choice in investing in the city that had stood the test of time. The people of Conriat are hard-working and resilient. Not even Volkslandian fire can stop us from being great. The new factories, Conriat will single-handedly bring Swordland out of the recession. The mayor has decided to host a horse race with only locally bred Sarod horses to celebrate the grand opening ceremony. It's a little random, but okay. Alright, from the Radical. Harshest security proposal vetoed. In an act of courage, President Rain has vetoed the Security Act proposal that would see unhinged powers extended to the security forces of the country to put down the ongoing protests. The Assembly, with majority, had proposed a bill which was immediately struck down by the President. The draft bill entailed necessary measures such as the use of force, suspicion arrests, authority beyond limits if state security is endangered, measures beyond reason. Credit where credit is due. The President did the right thing to prevent the harshest laws package the country had ever seen. Nice, okay, and from The Economist, this is what I was actually expecting. Swordish debt causes credit downgrade. Credit rating of Swordland has been downgraded after a massive report on government deficit has surfaced from the Ministry of Economy. Foreign rating agencies have said that investors who buy government bonds with high interest rates are not likely to see a profitable return on their investment. The widening government budget and the borrowing, which is leading Swordland into debt spiral it might not get out of, is concerning our analysts about the future of this economy. The reduction from B- minus to D minus will also reduce the chances of attracting foreign investors who seek to invest in the Swordish Wren and the government. Yeah, I definitely stretched myself a little bit too thin. Alright. But we've got a whole bunch of reports here, so I guess let's start out in the west. From Narbel, police overwhelmed in remote cities. Since the deployment of the police forces to combat the unrest, many attacks have occurred in remote cities. Ambushes are rampant and security forces are being pushed back. Police stations and patrols were the main targets of the militants. Unless reinforcements are provided, the current forces are not enough to control the situation. That's fantastic. Alright, Lockhaven. Debt crisis shocks the economy. Central Bank and the Ministry of Economy are tackling the extensive damages caused by the debt crisis and the subsequent credit rating downgrade of Swordland. Both entities are resorting to all sorts of currency and economic control measures to stabilize the volatility triggered by the events. And Fair Trade Commission creates trade regulation. The Fair Trade Commission has begun work on assessing the existing trade irregularities and unfairness. The first act of the Commission will be to create new trade regulations to balance import and export differences to ensure local competition can remain strong. Nice, okay. And from Gelsword, record number of female students. The proportion of female students enrolled in Swordland's education system is getting closer to half the student body, with more than 1 million enrollments recorded this academic year being women, the highest share on record in Swordland, according to a report by the Ministry of Education. Nice. Alright, well, at least something's going right. Conriat, about the industrial zone. The Conriat industrial zone is open to the public. Long lines of factory workers are waiting in line to apply for the new opportunities. The opening is expected to increase the industrial output of Conriat by 40%. As per the reports, industrial workers from nearby cities are also migrating, creating an influx of jobs and investments. I'm really hoping some of these projects start to pay off here soon, but it's not looking likely. Alright, let's start with the report and then we'll look at this bill. Katarina Horton's invitation to the Maroon Palace. The de facto leader of the protest, Katarina Horton, has been invited to the palace as a spokesperson at the request of the president. She will be provisioned with a guest-level security clearance immediately upon arrival at the Maroon Palace. Mrs. Horton will be searched thoroughly and 2 guards will be assigned to her at all times for the security of the president during the talks. Nice, well, hopefully that goes well. And a human dignity bill. The newly proposed bill will amend Section 3 of the 1923 Legal Transactions Act that allowed the legalization of transactions which occur in non-registered businesses or other entities like single persons, if the parties delivered accurate documentation to the financial authority. This created a legal loophole for prostitution. The Human Dignity Bill will protect common decency and remove the violation of moral principles that occur in the act of prostitution by making it an illegal offense which perpetrators are punishable by law. -1 government budget. Well, I'm going to veto it just on the basis of -1 government budget. But at the same time, it's a common decency law and like moral principles. So it's obviously total conservative bullshit. So veto. Okay. And a newspaper from the Radical. Protect Swordish sex workers. President Rain has vetoed the Human Dignity Bill. This bill would have seen sex work become an illegal offense and punishable by law. Sex workers already face high levels of discrimination. The world's oldest profession will always exist, but supporting sex workers with laws helps protect the health, safety, civil, and human rights of sex workers. Thankfully, the government has made the right call, vetoing this bigoted bill. Yeah, that's definitely the feel I got from it. Alright, and the Journal is probably just saying we vetoed that. Yep. Sweet. Alright. Back to the palace for a discussion on the current internal affairs. The storm was on the horizon outside my window. Inside my office, however, was very warm and cozy. I straightened myself on the sofa next to the fireplace and looked at Katerina Horton, who was sitting on the couch across from me. She was here representing the protesters outside the palace. So, Mr. President, you're not willing to resign, but willing to talk to the protesters. She was a rising figure in Swedish politics, especially due to her involvement in organizing the largest women's marches. It seemed like she was navigating the protests very cleverly and knew how to make people come together. She had somehow become the spokesperson for these massive Soul Square protests against me. Let me remind you, this is not a regular protest, this is a movement. You've been trying to bring the change you've been denied for so long. Your administration and your party have left them no choice. I respect that, Mrs. Horton. That's why we're here to have a discussion. Yes, and I appreciate that. You already know about the issues that made people go out. We don't believe that you can fix them anymore. That's why they're asking for your resignation. She looked at me with a single arched eyebrow. But I don't think that's going to happen, nor is it helpful at this moment. Elections are getting close anyway. Instead, I want you to make amends. When peaceful protesters went out to Soul Square to voice their opinion a few weeks ago, your police nearly beat them to death. I sure as hell didn't order that. This isn't about your policies anymore. This is about democracy and the fundamental right to be free, to be safe. The police state Soul created still lives on. Every president who takes the seat feels obliged to use that force. It needs to stop. These policemen act on their own accord. We never gave them such orders. This has become a systemic problem. We might have not given such orders, but the police feel that they have the right to partake in such actions, and they do not suffer any consequences for it. We want those responsible to be tried. We want justice to be served. Firstly, we want the dismissal of Carl Greiser, the chief of police, for his use of excessive force. And we demand that Turkey's Soul Security Package laws be undone. We work together with the independent MPs on a new Freedom Act. It must be implemented. I can help with these. What's in this Freedom Act? She straightened her back. Firstly, no person will be detained without proper trial. Investigating private property require warrants issued by judges. The loopholes that give the police the right to use excessive force will be removed. The police's right to stop and frisk anyone will be taken away. I mean, those all seem like no-brainers. Okay, I agree to all your demands. I support your bill, too, and I promise to sign it if it passes the Assembly. You're doing the right thing. We went through the documents and discussed how we would proceed. After we settled on our next actions, I signed the necessary papers and gave them to her. As soon as we were done, she immediately stood up and bowed her head. Thank you. In a few seconds, she was gone. I don't know, I feel kind of bad about just removing Carl. And he's been a good ally, but at the same time, like, if he's just letting his cops indiscriminately beat the crap out of people, that's not cool, bro. Yeah, it's just Kodak's just saying we dismissed him. I feel kind of bad about it, but that's inexcusable. Alright, so to the newspapers here, we've got the Whole Sword Post. Katerina Horton, democracy will win thanks to Mr. President. As a response to the growing unrest, the administration announced yesterday that President Rain will be holding face-to-face discussions with Katerina Horton in the Maroon Palace. At the helm, the independent MP Katerina Horton has long been championed as the leading figure of the protests. Today, President Rain announced he will support the oncoming Freedoms Act in the Assembly. This bill aims to outlaw detention without trial, require warrants for searches from the police along with bans on stop and frisk, and remove the loopholes in laws associated with security forces. I'm surprised that they didn't try to ream me for that, but give it time. Alright, and The Economist. Rich and Standard rates Swordland D-. Ventry City, Arcasia, 9:11 a.m. The Rich and Standard, one of the most prestigious credit rating agencies of the world, has officially decided to downgrade the rating of Swordland from B- to D-, while warning of further reductions if the government borrowing isn't reduced drastically in the next year. The warning has led many investors in Swedish government bonds to panic and hold their upcoming purchases for the 5-year bonds. The Ministry of Economy and the Central Bank quickly urged calm and highlighted efforts to maintain stability. The markets did not recover, however, and the question of raising interest rates significantly on 5- and 10-year government bonds is now becoming a reality. Swordland finds itself between a rock and a hard place. Yeah, like I said, I'm really hoping some of these investments actually pay off, or else we're just kind of boned. I mean, we're probably boned anyway, but... Alright, and a report from Estord. Rumberg plane warned inside airspace. A lone Rumbergian warplane violated our airspace by entering the territory of Sorland for 2 minutes and left after issuing a radio message. That could mean all sorts of things. Alright, back to Whole Sword for the Freedom Act. Ah, boy, another -1 government budget, but I have to sign this one. The peaceful and secure conditions in Sorland is grounds for a reduction of security laws by the majority of the GNA. Section 1 of the Freedoms Act revokes the 48-hour detention without trial completely, ensuring a proper trial before any detainment. Section 2 changes the warrant request requirements for investigating private property from the district police chief to a judge of the local jurisdiction, increasing judicial costs. Section 3 removes stop and frisk in its entirety. Section 4 establishes that the use of force is only allowed as an absolute last resort. That's gonna hurt, but I have to sign that one. -6 budget, jeez. Yeah, this is spiraling out of control really quick here. But, alright, country overview. So, the Freedom Act. Peaceful and secure conditions in Sorland is grounds for blah blah blah, just read that. Okay, in the journal, it's probably just going to say we sign that. Yep. Alright, and the news. From the Whole Sword Post, Rain signed the Freedoms Act. The Freedoms Act has been signed into law by President Rain after the approval of the Grand National Assembly by a majority vote on Thursday following a 5-hour debate. Katarina Horton, who campaigned heavily for the bill, also sought to express her gratitude for the confirmation of the new law, saying it's a step in the right direction to liberate the people of Sorland. And then the rest of it's just kind of what we've already read a couple times. Alright, from the Radical, Freedoms Act. In a surprising move, the USP administration and President Rain have decided to do something right for the Sword of citizens by signing the Freedoms Act into law. While we don't know whether this act will actually decrease police brutality or not, the new law tries to limit police's use of force and eliminate some of the inhumane points of the security package laws. The act also removes the detention without trial and stop and frisk laws. Mr. Rain's move to remove Tarquin Soul's infamous security package laws has been welcomed by many. Nice, okay. Alright. And back to Whole Sword for a whole bunch of little bills here. Okay, the option to fund a political youth group is presented. The possibility of funding a political youth group has arisen. This could serve us to extend our ideological reach and even boost our election efforts. The presidency would privately funnel a large amount of government funds to the youth wing in exchange for loyalty and support. Well, even if that didn't cost 2 government budget, that sounds not good, so we're not going to fund that. Hey, alright, Fair Luxury Tax Act, sorry. The Assembly proposes an amendment to Section 6 of the Tax Code. The FLTA seeks to improve the fairness of the taxation system and increase tax revenues. Section 1 sets a 15% tax rate which will be imposed on items of luxury goods class determined by the Ministry of Economy. This encompasses jewelry, furs, sports cars, yachts, private planes. Section 2 of the amendment will establish a 10% estate tax for the conditions of purchase, sale, and transfer of property, in particular inheritance situations. I don't really have a problem with that. And the +2 budget is also super helpful. So let's sign that one. And we're going to do this other tax first before we look at anything else. The Alcohol Tax Act. The GNA proposes the ATA to socially deter the excessive amount of alcohol consumption that has arisen in the general populace and increase tax revenues. Section 1 will impose a 20% tax on the sale of all alcohol products sold in the country. Section 2 makes local alcohol production that is destined for export exempt from taxation. Section 3 establishes a 25% import tax on foreign alcohol, which comes from countries with no trade regulation. Yeah, we'll sign that. +1 government budget. Okay, those both sounded super helpful, but it just tanked my economic development. So, okay, I clearly don't quite know what's going on here, but that's alright. Alright, let's look at the country overview. Got a luxury goods tax. That looks like the only thing there. Oh, and then welfare, the alcohol consumption reduction. Alright. Little sword post. They're probably going to be insulting me for this again. That's okay. Reign to put a lid on alcohol consumption. Grand National Assembly has signed the Alcohol Tax Act to deter the excessive amount of alcohol consumption that has recently been plaguing Sortland. Drunk and disorderly youths will quickly learn that their actions have consequences, and they will soon be paying a further 20% tax on all alcohol products in the country. And luxury is now taxable. The Assembly signed an amendment known as the Fair Luxury Tax Act. This bold choice seeks to impose a tax act on personal items, including jewelry, coats, and cars. Believing that necessary products or loving gifts are all considered luxury products is the hard reality we're facing under the Reign administration, as they're determined to steal your hard-earned money out from under you. So basically the rich people are bitching that we put a tax on super expensive luxury items. Well, screw them. Alright, emergency call on escalating situation. I was woken up in the middle of the night by a phone call from the Ministry of Defense. Due to the sensitivity of the information, I had to be urgently briefed in person. Put my clothes on as fast as I could. I rushed downstairs and opened the door. Serge was waiting for me. Mr. President, this way to the car, please. We got into the car and made our way to the Ministry of Defense building without a word. I arrived and was directed downstairs. I came to a set of large doors and quickly read the sign above them. The sign read War Room. The dimly lit room was filled with cutting-edge equipment, latest video screens, long-range radio electronics, and other devices used for communication, presentation, and planning. The centerpiece of the room was a large round table with the coat of arms Swordland engraved above it. David, Lucian, Falcon, and Yosef were already deep in discussion. So, is this about that plane that flew into our space?
I agree with your sentiments, Mr. Lancia. Going to war is simply too risky.
We must maintain peace in Sorla and Eastern Macopa at all costs.
I agree. We have much to lose.
Have some faith in our soldiers. Status report, now.
Mr. President, thank you for coming in at this late hour. There's a situation. Falcon, go ahead and provide your report.
Mr. President, approximately 20 minutes ago, Rumberg downed one of our planes with anti-aircraft fire from the ground. The pilot was declared KIA. The last recorded position of the plane was inside Solish airspace. General Kruger, I mean, no offense, but are we absolutely sure this is the case? Are you sure this happened within our borders? No offense taken. Here are the locations on the map and the report from the airbase. He pointed to several markers on the map. To answer your question, yes, we are absolutely sure. You can see here on the map that the plane was down approximately 10 kilometers inside our borders. We have calculated the trajectory of the gunfire, and they started firing when our plane was within our border. The plane was down near Halgan. We need to be cautious. A war with Rumberg is the last thing we want right now. I completely agree.
It looks like they're trying to lure us into their trap. This is an attack against Solden under different circumstances. The response to that is clear. But the current status of our military is also clear. We are not adequately equipped for such a foe. I agree with Mr. President.
We can't look weak. If we appear weak, they will jump on the opportunity. We must order military retaliation, immediately.
Could you start losing your common sense, General Falcon? You know the state our army is in right now. Retaliation is too risky.
But when was our job not risky, Mr. Lancia? Mr. President, our army is ready to do whatever it takes to protect Solden. Gentlemen, before it comes to that, we can prevent further bloodshed by using diplomacy. The room fell silent before Yosef finally spoke up.
Mr. President, what are your orders?
Eye for an eye. That sounds brilliant. Now, we'll approach this diplomatically and try to de-escalate the situation by any means. No one wants war. Lucian's tensed-up shoulders relax.
Thank you, sir.
I will immediately begin working on it.
With Mr. Vesey's capabilities, I'm sure that we will de-escalate the situation successfully. We will keep you updated on our progress. This is our best bet.
If you ask me, this is just plain old weakness we are showing them right now.
I'm frankly disappointed, Mr. President. We can't even retaliate at such an attack. What will become of this country in the future? Peace must be maintained at all costs. I'm saying this as a man who's seen too many years of war. We are not the ones that are attacking the peace. Regardless, it looks like your decision's been made, Mr. President. I know it. I'm not needed. I will take my leave.
Before he left the room, he saluted.
Well, now that we know the way forward, I have an idea, Mr. President. I think we should hold a military parade to display our strength.
I'm with Mr. Lancy on this one. This should work well as a deterrent, and it'll come in handy as a tool to de-escalate the situation.
That is a good idea. Simple and effective without causing any ruckus.
Yep, sure, why not? That makes sense. Organized military parade.
Understood. That is all, Mr. President. I'll keep you updated on the situation. For now, have a good night's sleep. You'll need it.
I couldn't sleep at all that night. Fantastic. Alright. Yeah, like I said, everything is just unraveling here at a really impressive rate. These are not very good developments at all here on any front. But I think that's all I've got time for today. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.